Morning, everybody. This is Michele with From 9 to Thrive, and it is another edition of Thriving Tuesday. And I hope you all are having a great week. And part about the journey that we're all on to escape that 9 to 5 involves thriving and filling ourselves full of information and positiveness. And a lot of that I find in podcasts. I've been listening to podcasts for years. I was one of those early adopters. And if you have not had a chance to check out our latest podcast that we have launched, From 9 to Thrive, check it out at any of the places that you get your podcast at, and leave a review. Let us know what you think. If you can't find it, let me know, and I would be more than happy to help you find it. Anyway, today I am starting a new thing where every month I'm going to either highlight a book I've been reading or a podcast that has just inspired me and gave me the motivation and the excitement and everything that I needed to keep moving. Because this is a rough haul. It is tough to stay dedicated and moving forward when you just want it so bad. And it's just, you're not seeing any forward progress and you're not seeing anything happening. Here's what I think that we all need is a list of books and podcasts that inspire us. So today I am diving into one of my favorites. It's an oldie but goodie. And this one is How I Built This by Guy Raz. If you know the podcast, he goes through and he's been around for years, and he talks about these brands. He talks to the founders of these brands, and some of them already exited or sold out or were bought. But he talks to them about, where did you get the idea and how did this happen, and tell us about the story along the way. And when so many of us are on this journey to escape the 9 to 5, it's a podcast like this that is an absolute goldmine of inspiration and actionable tips from people who have been there, done that, and succeeded, so we can learn from them. So let's dig into this. The podcast really dives deep into the stories of the entrepreneurs and the people who built some of the most well-known businesses, name brands. Think Spanx, Airbnb, Five Guys. You get to meet and listen to Sarah Blakely tell her story of how she created Spanx. And what makes this podcast stand out is how relatable these stories are. They're not just success stories like they woke up one day and they had a huge multi-billion-dollar business. No, they started in their garage, in their house, in their small apartments, and they scrapped and they struggled, and you get to hear all about the struggles, all about their failures and lessons learned along the way. And Guy is a great host. He has this amazing way of just drawing in people, and he's so relatable. And he relates how he uses their product or their service or where he's found them or something. He always has this personal connection that he brings into the conversation. So as someone on my own journey to escape the 9 to 5 and building the business that I love and the life that I love, this podcast, How I Built This, is a masterclass in resilience and creativity. I can't tell you how many times I have listened to an episode and have walked away with this, oh, I could do that. Oh, I see what they did. And there's always some takeaway that inspires me, gets me moving forward. Some of the key lessons that I find in these stories, and I think you probably will too, or if you listen to the podcast, you're probably nodding along with me going, hey, Michele, I get it. This is one of my favorites too. But what some of the key takeaways I've always taken from this podcast are that struggles are universal. It's reassuring to me to hear that even the most successful people face doubt, failure. They didn't think they could do it. They didn't think, they had imposter syndrome. but they were like me. And that made it very real. And when you're listening to these stories, you're like, oh, they're just like me. Taking risks pay off. We talk about this a lot. When you're facing, do I do this? Do I do that? And what's the payoff? Is it going to work? Hearing these stories motivates me to make these calculated risks. I'm not going to go willy-nilly and go all off, but it allows me to say, okay, they did this and they walked through this process, and it's like, okay, I now know kind of the fears that I am thinking could come true, but then I can see that there's more benefit. And the other thing that I really like is the authenticity. And I hope that I come across as authentic, but these people that he interviews are very authentic. You know, you've learned the importance of staying true to your vision, even when it's tempting to follow trends. There has been several entrepreneurs on there who could have had bigger businesses faster, but no, they held true to their principles. And just like businesses, Guy has evolved the podcast. So he's recently added a new episode structure called the advice line. And on these, he brings back alum who have shared their stories before. And then they open it up to callers who are, I guess, pre-screened. But they come in with questions. And Guy and that entrepreneur actually brainstorm and have a mini coaching session with these entrepreneurs. They get to ask real questions. They get to figure out what is best way to answer it. And what's really interesting, as they go through these mini coaching sessions, you find that there isn't a clear-cut black and white answer to these questions. Guy comes up with some ideas that are really interesting and cool, and the entrepreneur comes up with some ideas. But the cool thing is they build off of each other. And you can see how creating a business and creating this life we want to live isn't a step-by-step process, and you do this, then you do that. It's let's try this and let's try that, and have you done this and have you done that. It's a lot of trial and error. And even with those that have succeeded, there is still some of that trial and error. And so it gives me a lot of comfort knowing that it's not all black and white, and there isn't one pathway to get to the end. On a recent episode, they talked about the importance of pivoting. But the entrepreneur that had called in was like, this is what I was planning to do, and this is where I'm at, and I'm just stuck. It's not working. And in this mini coaching session on the advice line, they were given this information and this strategy of, you know what, take what worked, but let's shift it a little. Let's pivot into something that we think might work better. And so I always think about that in the own evolution of my business is how can I take what's working and build on that, double down on that, and then just try to discard and not do what's not working. And there have been so many lessons that I've learned on this podcast. One episode on branding taught me to focus on creativity and creating that emotional connection to my clients. And that's what I'm doing now with From 9 to Thrive. I'm making that connection. Let's be authentic. Let's really get down to not hitting the algorithm and making the algorithm work for me. It's more about how I can be authentic and really truly bring value and assistance to my clients. Another episode that I listened to helped me reframe and help me understand that failure is just a stepping stone to success. We talk about that all the time. It's never failure as long as you just keep moving and we figure out what doesn't work. Like I've said, every time I've listened to an episode, I walk away with something I can tweak or try or implement in my own business, or even it gives me a foundation as I'm coaching others as to what they could do and try and some things that I may not have ever thought of. So you're always picking up on something new to learn. If you haven't had a chance to download or listen to How I Built This by Guy Raz, I would do it. I strongly encourage it. Love this podcast. I would also encourage you to check out my podcast, which takes a lot of what we talk about here daily, and I add a little bit to that. But if you do listen to how I built this, which one was your favorite episode? Which entrepreneur really spoke to you? I'm going to say Sarah Blakely is the one that always speaks to me. I just love her story. I love how she just didn't give up, how she made that work, and she took no outside capital and built something that was absolutely amazing, and then sells it, and then takes the lessons learned in building Spanx and creates sneaks. I say entrepreneurs, they have more than one in them. They have more than one business in them, and that's truly a true example there. Head over to from9tothrive.com. Check out all of our tips and strategies on how to help you build your business, build a life that you love, and help you escape your 9 to 5. If you want to schedule some time to talk with me, there's a link over there to work with me, and you can schedule a coaching session. I'm looking forward to helping 15 of you this year get on the path to escaping your 9 to 5 and creating and building a life that you love. I'm Michele, and this has been From 9 to Thrive. You guys have a great one.